should have died on that highway. The night was a blur of neon lights, burning rubber, and the metallic taste of blood in my mouth. Funny, right? You spend years outrunning the law, outrunning fate, thinking you're invincible until you're sprawled on the pavement, staring at a cop who should have arrested you, but instead saved your damn life. That was how I met him. Officer Daniel Hayes. The man who was supposed to be my enemy became the one person I couldn't stop thinking about. The irony is cruel. Me, once a legend in the underground racing scene, feared and admired for breaking every rule. Him, a model cop sworn to uphold the very laws I lived to shatter. And yet, beneath his badge and my arrogance, something dangerous flickered, something neither of us dared to name at first. Los Angeles had always been my stage. The city loved adrenaline junkies like me. The roar of engines, the rush of speed, the promise of fame carved into every streetlight. I thrived on danger, until one night the stakes became too high and I crashed hard. When the dust cleared, Daniel was the one dragging me from the wreck. His hands were rough, steady, too steady for someone who should have despised me. His eyes didn't look at me like a criminal. They looked at me like I was human. I hated that. I hated how much it mattered. Why did you help me? I spat at him in the ER, bitterness my only shield. Because you're alive, he answered simply, his voice calm, like he didn't know me more than that. But that answer wasn't enough. Not for me. Days turned into weeks. The underground buzzed with my fall, whispers that the king had lost his crown. The racing world is cruel like that. It worships you one night and erases you the next. I should have disappeared. But Daniel kept showing up. Sometimes to check in, other times under the excuse of unfinished paperwork. Bullshit. I knew he was curious, and so was I. There's a fire in him, the kind that burns slower, deeper. Not the reckless blaze I carried, but something steadier, like an anchor. The more time we spent together, the more I saw the man behind the uniform. A man who hated corruption, who was fighting demons of his own within a force that wasn't as clean as people liked to believe. One night, standing outside his car, the city lights painting his face in gold and shadow, he said quietly, "You're better than the streets, Alex. You know that, right?" I laughed, bitter and hollow. Better? Look at me. All I know is speed and chaos. No, he said firmly. You know survival. And maybe, you know loyalty. That counts for something. Something broke inside me then. Or maybe it was something finally stitching itself together. The pull between us grew undeniable. Every look, every unspoken word carried the weight of what we couldn't admit. Society had its rules, and so did the force. A cop and an ex-street racer? Worse, two men in a city where whispers could destroy you. But the heart doesn't ask for permission. It was Daniel who crossed the line first. A simple touch, his hand brushing mine as he passed me a file he had no business sharing. Evidence of corruption buried deep within the department. A ring of officers taking bribes from the same men who once bet on my races. "I need your help," he confessed. His voice trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of trust. "You know these streets better than anyone. You know how they think. I can't take them down alone." I should have walked away. This wasn't my fight. But something in his eyes, something raw, desperate, and painfully human anchored me. "Fine," I said, pretending I wasn't already his. "But don't expect me to play by your rules." His lips curved into the faintest smile. "Wouldn't dream of it." And so, the racer and the cop became reluctant allies, two worlds colliding under the weight of secrets and danger. By day, we played our roles: him, the upright officer; me, the reckless drifter trying to piece my life back together. By night, we followed the trail of corruption, slipping deeper into shadows neither of us could escape. But the closer we got to the truth, the closer we came to each other. It wasn't fireworks or grand gestures at first. It was small things. His jacket draped over my shoulders when the night turned cold. My laughter slipping past walls I thought unbreakable. His voice soft when he said my name, as if it carried weight only he understood. And yet, the danger loomed larger with every step. The people we were hunting weren't blind. They knew someone was after them. They knew I wasn't just some washed-up racer anymore. I was a threat. And Daniel, he became a target too. I remember one night, headlights cutting across the alley, the hiss of tires and the metallic click of a gun aimed at us. Daniel shoved me behind him without hesitation, his arm outstretched, eyes burning with something I hadn't seen before. Fear. Not for himself. For me. You should have stayed away from me, I whispered, my chest tight. Too late for that, he shot back, voice low but steady. And in that moment, with danger pressing in from all sides, the truth hung between us, undeniable and fierce. We weren't just allies. We weren't just surviving. We were fighting for something neither of us dared name aloud. Yet, the warehouse smelled like gasoline and betrayal. Shadows stretched across the walls, broken only by the faint flicker of a dying bulb overhead. Daniel and I had spent weeks piecing together the evidence, chasing leads that nearly got us killed, and know it all came down to this. They're coming, Daniel whispered, his hand tightening around his weapon. I didn't need to ask who. The sound of engines roaring in the distance, the screech of tires, the metallic slam of Dorset was the same music I once lived for, except now it promised blood. Remember, Daniel muttered, his eyes cutting to me for the briefest moment. Stay behind me. I almost laughed. Behind you? You forget. Hayes, I was born in the streets. I'm not about to let you play the hero alone. He didn't answer, but the flicker of something soft in his eyes was enough. He trusted me even when he shouldn't. Especially when he shouldn't. The doors burst open. Men poured in, some I recognized from the racing world, others with the cold stiffness of dirty cops who had sold their souls long ago. And at their center, a figure I despised more than anyone, Carter, the officer who had orchestrated everything, the one who let the city rot while he lined his pockets. Alex Mercer, Carter sneered, his voice dripping with false amusement, the fallen prince of the streets. And Luke Uve brought a date. Daniel's jaw clenched, but he didn't flinch. He stepped forward, voice steady. It's over, Carter. We have enough evidence to bury you and every one of your men. Walk away or what? Carter cut him off, raising his gun. You think anyone cares about two nobodies? A disgraced racer and a cop too clean for his own good? You're nothing. The gun leveled at Daniel's chest. Time slowed. I didn't think. I moved. The crack of the shot echoed like thunder. But it wasn't Daniel who fell, it was me. Slamming into him, the bullet grazing my side. Pain tore through me, hot and blinding. But I refused to let go. Not of him. Not now. Alex. His voice was raw, panicked in a way I'd never heard before. He pressed his hand to my wound, his breath ragged. Stay with me. Do you hear me? Stay. I forced a smile, even as the edges of my vision blurred. Told you, not to play the hero alone. Rage lit his eyes then. Not the kind born of fear, but of love, the kind that burned brighter than any fire I'd ever known. He turned back to Carter, his stance unshakable. You're done. The next moments were chaos, gunfire, shouts, the clash of fists against concrete. But I watched Daniel move through it like a storm, precise and relentless, protecting me even as he dismantled everything Carter had built. And when it ended, when Carter was finally on the ground in cuffs, the warehouse rang with silence. Daniel dropped beside me, pulling me into his arms. His uniform was torn, his face smeared with dirt and blood, but his eyes, God, his eyes held me like I was the only thing that mattered. I can't lose you, he whispered, voice breaking. You won't? I managed, my hand finding his. Not now. Not ever. The weeks that followed were a blur of hospital walls, whispered questions, and headlines splashed across the news. The story broke wide open: corruption in the LAPD, exposed by one of their own. Daniel became a reluctant hero. Me? I became something else entirely. The streets didn't forget who I was. The fallen racer who helped take down a ring of dirty cops. That story carried weight. For the first time in my life, people didn't look at me as a criminal. They looked at me as someone who had fought back. But none of that mattered compared to him. Daniel visited me every day, his presence steady, grounding me in ways I never thought possible. He'd sit by my bed, sometimes in silence, sometimes reading reports he was still chasing. Other times, he'd just hold my hand, as if afraid I'd slip away if he let go. One night, long after visiting hours ended, he leaned close, his voice low, raw. "Do you ever regret it?" "Regret what?" I asked. This, what it's cost you." I looked at him, at the man who'd dragged me from the wreckage of my own life, who'd stood by me even when it endangered everything he believed in. My chest tightened, but not from pain. From love. "Daniel," I said softly, "the only regret I have is not finding you sooner." For a moment, the weight of the world seemed to lift. His shoulders relaxed, his eyes softened, and when he kissed, it wasn't the desperate clash of hidden desires anymore. It was something tender, something whole. And I knew, no matter what storms came, we'd face them together. Months later, I stood beside him on that same empty highway where my story had almost ended. The city glowed in the distance, headlights cutting through the night, a reminder of the life I once lived and the one I'd chosen instead. The wind tugged at his shirt, his badge catching the faint light, but when he turned to me, he wasn't a cop, and I wasn't a racer. We were just two men, standing against the darkness, choosing each other. "Scary, isn't it?" I said quietly. "Building something real." Daniel smiled, his hand slipping into mine. "Scary, but worth it." I squeezed his hand, feeling the truth of it settle deep inside me. The world could judge us, the past could haunt us, but as long as we stood side by side, none of it could break us. Once I thought speed was the only way to feel alive. Now I knew better. Life wasn't in the roar of an engine or the flash of headlights. It was herein, his hand in mine, in the quiet certainty of love that had survived the wreckage. We had faced the shadows. We had fought the battles. And now, finally, we were free. Together. Always. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.